Hi, my name is Jay Folk, and these are my weather observations for Unit 10 and ATM 101. I was observing March 23rd through March 27th in North Pole, Alaska. So this week was quite a bit warmer than in Unit 4, obviously. It was, and all of my observations each day were taken at 8 o'clock at night when I got home. And so the left digital thermometer was reading 23.2 degrees and the right slightly higher at 23.6 degrees Fahrenheit. And both of them showed maximums of right around 40 degrees Fahrenheit for that day, Monday the 23rd, and minimums of about 11 degrees Fahrenheit. The barometric pressure was 1007.5 millibars, or 29.75 inches of mercury. I gave it a 2 on the Beaufort scale for the wind. It was a fairly light breeze. I could feel the wind on my face when I stepped out on my deck, but it wasn't too strong. I also saw some cloud cover, stratus clouds, pretty low lying clouds, covered about a quarter of the sky, maybe a little less than a quarter. But other than that, when the areas where there were no clouds, it was pretty blue skies. And we also had a very small amount of snowfall that day. Now moving on to the 24th on Tuesday, it was slightly warmer at nearly 30 degrees Fahrenheit on both thermometers. Both were reading between 42.7 and 43 degrees Fahrenheit for the max readings, and minimum was right around 10.5 degrees Fahrenheit for the 24th. The barometric pressure was a little less at 1005.2 millibars, or 29.68 inches of mercury. I gave it a 0 on the Beaufort scale for wind. It was a very calm day, probably the clearest blue skies that we had all week, and there was no precipitation at all. It was a really beautiful day. On Wednesday, March 25th at 8 o'clock in the evening, it was 26 degrees approximately on both thermometers in Fahrenheit. And as you can see, the maximum readings were the first time it hit 50 degrees for this week, right around 51 degrees Fahrenheit. And the minimum temperatures, they were pretty steady, right around 12 to 12.3 degrees Fahrenheit for the lows. And the barometric pressure dropped below 1,000 for the first time in millibars at 999.7, and that equaled to 29.52 inches in mercury. I gave it a 1 on the Beaufort scale for the wind. It was a fairly light breeze. It was even lighter than on Monday, but I could still feel it slightly. If I was to wet my finger and stick it up in the air, I could feel my finger, or I could feel the wind on my finger, so I gave it a 1. And this day there were again low-lying stratus clouds. Some were lighter white, and some were actually a little darker and gray. And on Monday, when I saw the low-lying stratus clouds, it covered about a quarter to a little bit less than a quarter of the sky. This day was a little closer to the half mark. I almost gave it the half sky cover, but it wasn't quite that much, but it was a little bit more than a quarter. And again, no precipitation on this day. For Thursday, on March 26th, the temperature reading at 8 o'clock was 34, almost 35 degrees Fahrenheit on both thermometers. The max readings, again, were hovering right around 50 degrees. And the minimum temperatures were a little higher than the day before at 14.5 on average. And the barometric pressure dropped for the third day in a row, down to 995.1 millibars, which is 29.39 inches in mercury. Again, I gave it a 1 for the wind on the Beaufort scale. A very light breeze, maybe had a few branches moving, but it was really almost non-existent, but not quite non-existent enough to give it a 0. There were low-lying stratus clouds that covered about half the sky. They were pretty dark, gray in color. Not many white clouds were out there. It was a pretty overcast day for the most part, and there was no precipitation that I observed on Thursday. And for the final day of my observations on Friday, the 27th, the temperature was right around 36 degrees Fahrenheit, and the maximum was 52.2 to 52.6 degrees Fahrenheit, and the minimums were right around 16 degrees Fahrenheit. So it was overall the warmest overall day that we had all week, and the barometric pressure rose back over 1,000 on the millibars scale, up to 1,002.1 millibars, which is 29.59 inches in mercury. Again, light breeze, give it a 1 for the Beaufort scale. And, other surrounding areas may have slightly higher numbers on some of these days, but where I'm sitting on Badger Road, on my back deck, we're covered and surrounded by trees, so we don't get a lot of wind, but we did get enough to give it a 1 on this day. There was, again, low-lying stratus clouds, covered approximately a quarter to a third of the sky, and most, if not all, of the clouds had some grayish to their color. There were really no white clouds in the sky on this day, and no precipitation. Real quick, I just want to show the chart for my readings on my back deck compared to the NWS website. And as you can see, they were fairly consistent, if not dead on most days. And you can see that the maximum temperature here was the day it rose above 50, the only time of the week. And my plot goes pretty nicely along with the NWS website. And so this is the air temperature for the week of the 23rd through the 27th. Here's the barometric pressure readings that the NWS website came up with, and then here are mine. Again, the correlation between mine and the readings from NWS were pretty spot on. Obviously some variation in the numbers a little bit, but as my readings go down, the trends follow the NWS trends. So I was pleased to see that, as in Unit 4 I had some issues with my barometric readings, and so I was excited to actually get this one correct. So there's my barometric readings for this week. So on March 23rd, we had some high pressure systems up in the north, northwest, and down towards Valdez area, Haines, Valdez, and some low pressure systems in the south and the southeast area. This is towards pretty close to Ketchikan, Metlakatla. Lots of fog in the Aleutian Islands on the 23rd with some precipitation, snowfall, and we had, as you can see, some slight cloud cover in the interior, where it was heavy, dense cloud cover up towards the northern part of the state, and this was pretty consistent with what I observed on the back of my deck, with about a quarter of the sky cloud covered. On Tuesday, the 24th, we had 3 high pressure systems towards the center of the state. Over here in Canada, we had a couple high pressure systems, and this was the day that was really clear and blue skies, and this backs it up with virtually no cloud cover over Fairbanks and North Pole, and we have a low pressure system down here in the southern part of the Pacific Ocean, south of Alaska, and So this was the really nice sunny day for interior Fairbanks, North Pole. Here's Wednesday, March 25th. There were a couple low pressure systems towards the Aleutian Islands, south of the Aleutian Islands, and south kind of towards Kodiak Island. You can see an occluded front here pushing north to the northeast, and down here we have a cold front that's pushing down towards the states, and some fog in the upper north to northwest area of Alaska with some slight cloud cover in the interior. We have a cold front pushing from the Yukon up down to Canada, and this was very accurate for what I saw on my back deck. Some cloud cover that we had in the interior, and so this was pretty accurate. Now for Thursday, March 26th, we have a high pressure system out here in the middle of the ocean towards Russia, and a low pressure system up here in northern Canada, a low pressure system over here in Canada as well. We have an occluded front pushing north, northeast, northwest from the southern part of the state. We had some snowfall in the Anchorage, Kenai Peninsula area with some fog kind of moving up through the interior all the way up through Canada, and quite a bit of cloud cover throughout the whole state. It just wasn't sunny for a lot of people on Thursday throughout the whole state. And then you can see a cold front down here in the southeast area where it's pushing to the east over towards Canada. And so that's Thursday. And finally, there's Friday the 27th, the final day of my observations. Again, not as much cloud cover as the day before, but there's still pretty heavy cloud cover throughout the whole state. We have some rain actually in most of the coastal areas, which is pretty common in Alaska. I grew up down here in Ketchikan. Rain is something that you just live with, so we have rain in most of the coastal areas that stretches all the way from the Aleutians to the southeast area. And again, fog is kind of in the middle, kind of splitting the state in half here, coming from the Pacific Ocean in these two low pressure systems. We have an occluded front that's kind of going in most every direction except south. It's going north, northwest, northeast, and it's pushing up from this low pressure system down here in the Pacific Ocean. We have a high pressure system over here, and in Russia there's a low pressure system right there, and another low pressure system up here. We had some fog also up here, and so that's Friday, the final day of my observations. And these final satellite images are just kind of showing Wednesday the 25th, I believe. And again, this is just going back to the chart that I just went over for Wednesday, but it's got a lot of rain that happened on the coastal areas. The occluded front coming up from the southern part of the state from these two low pressure systems, and then we have a high pressure system that was built up in the Pacific Ocean over here. And then we had quite heavy, not snowfall, heavy cloud cover in the northern part of the state, covered about half the state. We had a partial cloud cover that day. This shows it fairly well, and actually this infrared shows it even better because we weren't quite fully covered with clouds, and so this really does depict what we were seeing in the interior, where it was partial cloud cover, showing some areas where we had no clouds. And if you were to look at just this map, I could see where you would think that we were fully covered in clouds. I know that's what I would think right away, but if you look at this infrared, we did have some clear areas in the interior. And so that concludes my week, or my Unit 10 weather observations for ATM 101. Thanks.